Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how after the Tories have said they want to make war on asylum seekers because they're in reality economic migrants, you see, they're now also saying they want to increase economic immigration to Britain. Welcome to another thrilling episode of You Couldn't Make It Up. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So last year, the Bank of England said that the main concern from businesses was the labour shortage. There are way fewer people in the workforce than needed to maintain the size of the economy that we have been used to. In fact, we're a good million workers short. There are, of course, shortages of some key workers in a number of sectors internationally. In fact, attracting certain skilled workers is always a very competitive activity. But the UK has, in the past, been able to compete. Our extreme Tory Brexit put a bit of an end to that. The government's point-based immigration scheme, which sounds lovely, means that in reality, if the job pays well, a suitable foreign worker will almost certainly be able to meet the requirements. No problem getting the points. So for those who think that the government's immigration system stopped foreign workers taking jobs from British workers, it was only half true. It stopped them taking the rubbish, poorly paid jobs, not the good ones. In fact, it made it easier for workers from outside the EU to get those jobs as well. So the net effect is that the good jobs, no problem at all, really. What it did was strangle the supply of foreign workers for lower paid jobs. So our Brexit immigration system actually made it just as difficult for British workers to get good jobs, in some cases more difficult, and then funneled those British workers into the lower paid jobs. But many of those British workers didn't want the lower paid jobs, so just left the workforce. Now the government are whining about all the people who've left the workforce and are trying to coax them back in. But given that they're not tackling the root causes of why they left, it's not going to happen. So now the government are starting to face up to that. They understand the reality now. We need more workers. They now accept that they aren't going to get them from those who remove their services from the economy in large numbers, because at the end of the day, if you can remove yourself from the workforce, you can afford to get by. You don't need the job that you don't want. So when you can't fill jobs from the domestic population, it's actually very easy to work out where you do need to get them from. So simple that even the Tories can work it out. You immigrate more workers. Tricky. Consider their justification for treating vulnerable refugees from war and persecution like criminals. Oh, they're not actually asylum seekers. They only say that, the little tinkers. They are, in fact, economic migrants. But now the government have a policy of wanting more economic migrants. So a quote from Robert Buckland, a Tory MP, former cabinet minister, saying that the public were fine with accepting more foreign workers if they were assured that illegal migration was under control. Now, don't get me wrong, he's right. Though if they were more honest about what illegal migration really is, it would be a great deal easier to get it under control. By conflating asylum seekers with illegal immigration, the Tories are actually making actual illegal immigration much worse. Also, this statement of Buckland's doesn't make sense in their own terms. So they're now trying to come up with excuses to justify higher immigration, economic immigration, to the gammons by saying, well, the public are all fine with that, of course, as long as illegal migration's under control. But the thing is, they keep saying it's not under control. Hence the stop the boats, hence this new legislation. So given that they are saying it's not under control, does that mean they're not going to increase active economic immigration until it is under control? No, not on your life. Suella Braverman has already agreed to add a load of professions to the shortage occupation list for the construction industry recently, with more to follow. The shortage occupation list basically includes occupations for which the government accept we do not have enough workers and we need them, with the appropriate skills in the UK to fill those vacancies. It allows employers to hire foreign workers for these roles with eased requirements. But there's still a problem. As members of the single market, almost any European citizen could just apply for and accept those jobs as easily if the vacancy were in their own country. Now, even if it's for a job on the shortage occupation list, there is a hefty bureaucratic procedure in order to apply for the necessary visas. Plenty of Brexit red tape. Now, if we maintain a reluctance to embrace the benefits of freedom of movement, we are always going to be the most uncompetitive country in Europe, maybe Belarus aside, when it comes to attracting skilled workers from Europe. You know, we can ease immigration requirements for workers from Africa, Asia and so on, but we could do that anyway. And those workers are more difficult to attract, especially for lower paid jobs, because it's much more of a hassle to cross continents for a job than within your own continent. The fact of the matter is that even if the government fully faces up to the need for immigration to deal with the labour shortage, which it sounds like they are now, they're going to struggle outside the single market. We have a harder time recruiting from Europe. There are more difficulties with recruiting from the rest of the world due to the costs involved in both recruitment and travel. And what makes it really difficult is that the majority of jobs in the UK are for small businesses. So even if the vacancy is for a job on the shortage occupation list, that small business owner will find it time consuming and complex, sometimes too complex, to jump through all the bureaucratic hoops needed to not only find foreign workers to apply for their jobs, but to deal with all that red tape necessary to secure the visas. And that's been our problem ever since leaving the single market. The Brexit red tape is a pain in the arse for everyone, but it is especially problematic for small businesses, some of whom simply cannot deal with it. They've never had to before, and so have to accept that their business has to shrink or fail completely. Hiring foreign workers is no different, and all sectors rely upon the services of small companies, including construction. So the government adding a load of construction jobs to their shortage occupation list helps, of course it helps, but it doesn't magically make the shortages in that sector go away. All they're doing is lowering the trade barriers, so to speak, a little. But they're still way higher than they used to be a few years ago. And a few years ago, we sometimes struggled to get certain skills in the construction industry. Like I say, for some occupations, attracting the right workers is very competitive because there are some jobs for which internationally there are just fewer people with the necessary skills than there are vacancies for them. And it's not even like we're set up to quickly identify skill shortages in areas of unemployment. It's like, well, there's a load of workers there. We just need to get them the skills. We need to retrain people. The Tories have also been running down our colleges during their time in office, so the capacity to retrain is much diminished. Finally, worth noting a point I saw. Reading a Financial Times article that was covering this, but it had one interesting thing at the end that I didn't see in other reports. An academic said that there was a debate about which shortages actually mattered, as if some skill shortages don't actually matter in some sectors. And they cited hospitality as not being especially problematic because if the hospitality sector shrinks, it doesn't actually have a human cost to it. Now, obviously, shortages in construction, healthcare, social care, the food supply chain, and so on are all top priority because labour shortages there do mean people suffering. If we have fewer hotels or restaurants, pubs and so on, not so much. And this is true. And you can see how the inevitable thinking would be, well, you know, if hospitality shrank and some people left hospitality to work in the more important sectors, then you ease the labour shortages in those more important sectors. But there are two massive problems with this line of thinking. The first is that people would still need the retraining. Now, even if we had a well-resourced, proactive education sector that could be in tune with local needs and provide that retraining, if local colleges had the resources to do that, which they don't, it would still take time to carry out that retraining. But we don't have that, and the government don't have plans to fix it. The second point is, so even if you can redistribute workers from what is seen as a less important sector to more important ones, you're still shrinking the overall size of the economy because it still represents lower productivity. If you're going to try and manage with hundreds of thousands of fewer workers, you're talking about reducing the overall level of productivity of the country, which means shrinking the economy. The hospitality sector shrinking may not cause direct human suffering in the way that shortages in social care do, but it still represents the economy getting smaller, which means lower tax revenues, which means the rate of tax has to go up, And the Tories used the situation to justify more public spending cuts, as they did last year. If you want the economy to grow, and even the Tories claim they do, despite, the experience of the past 13 years, then you need more workers in every sector. You want to encourage every single sector in the economy to grow. To do that, you need to give it easy access to the workers with the right skills. And if they cannot be found in the UK, then they must be found outside the UK. That's simple enough. What is less simple for the Tories is working out how to do this, because they've got a couple of problems now. First, as I say, our visa system, even when we make it less onerous, all we're doing with the shortage occupation list is making it easier to get the points. But the red tape's still there to get the visas. That's still there. That doesn't go away. And that means that it's more hassle for someone from the EU to come and work in the UK than it is anywhere else, well, pretty much in Europe. But second, the Tories kept saying that they were going to reduce the levels of net migration. Net immigration specifically is going to come down. Immigration has already increased since Brexit. And the Tories' new policy means it will increase further. Now, it has to increase further if we don't want the economy to shrink down to the size of the available workforce. We're 1 million workers short. That's a lot of immigration coming. But I wonder what the Gammons will think of that. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.